And welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm LeVar Arrington here with Rick Bucher and Greg Jennings. Marcellus Wiley and Emmanuel Acho, well, they're off for today. But we're going to be keeping it rolling with our top story delivered by Pizza Hut. Order today at pizzahut.com. Aaron Rodgers, he wants out of Green Bay and is seriously considering retiring if there's a, GM that continues to have a job. Now, there's a report. The Packers drove Rodgers nuts when they released wide receiver Jake Kemerow last year. Now, we got opinions on this, and I got former Packer Greg Jennings first. So, Greg, who has the power in Green Bay?
Green Bay Packers. They have the power. They will forever have the power. But Aaron Rodgers has leverage. And in this game, as a player, it's something that you don't come across too often. And now that Aaron Rodgers knows that he has leverage, he's going to use it. Why would you use leverage? Because you can get what you so desire if a team ends up giving way. And the Packers typically don't give way. And this is why there's such a clash of the Titans, because the Green Bay Packers have done things the way that they've always done things, which is go through the draft, not draft skill position guys in the first round, make sure that they surround Aaron Rodgers with enough talent, but he's going to elevate whatever they put on the field with him, and he's frustrated with that methodology. And when you look at why they haven't been able to be successful, it's been because typically of the defense not holding up their end of the bargain. Well, now you have a quarterback that's older. He understands that he's older. He knows that he has weapons, but he wants more, and he wants it done his way, and he's performed. Let's not forget, we're talking about the MVP of the 2020 regular season, a quarterback that has gotten their team to the NFC Championship game 2 years in a row. And so when you think about what his asks are, they're not a lot. It's not a lot. I want to be guaranteed. I want you to give me a contract that says I will end my career here and let me ride off into the sunset. It's not about Jordan Love. It's more so about I want to win a championship. If the desired outcome is met, great. But it hasn't been met doing it the way of the Green Bay Packers with the general manager in place and all the ifs, ands, and buts. Aaron Rodgers is tired of it, and he's finally spoken up, something that I truly never would have thought that he would have done in his career at Green Bay with the Packers. I say he's going to get what he desires. We will see, but it is real.
Go ahead, Rick.
Greg, you're going to have to explain to me the difference between leverage and power, because as I see it, they're one in the same. And Rodgers has it. To your point, he has the leverage, therefore he has the power. And it simply comes down to this. What does Aaron Rodgers offer the Green Bay Packers? As you said, literally the most valuable player in all of football right now. The guy that makes them go, the biggest difference maker in the game. They are not the same team, not even close, without Aaron Rodgers. On the other hand, what do the Green Bay Packers offer Aaron Rodgers? They offer him money, and they offer him the opportunity to play football. And from what I have heard and seen of Aaron Rodgers of late, he likes those things, but he doesn't love those things. He doesn't need those things in order to go forward. Served as host to Jeopardy, has talked about, hey, I might want to do this. I could do this with football, without football. He got engaged. And ever since he said, after winning a Super Bowl, is that all there is? Like he climbed the mountain. I just got the sense that his fulfillment doesn't necessarily or isn't necessarily going to happen when it comes to playing football. He doesn't strike me as being that type of a guy. And I'll tell you, personal story. Like for me, I was at another network. I was doing everything you could possibly could do. I had achieved what I was hoping to do. And I had a young family. I had young kids. I was newly married, relatively newly married. And I was looking for a new challenge. And my employer was making a couple decisions on the side that I didn't necessarily agree with. And it wasn't that I had to leave, but I saw the possibility of life being better doing something else. And so ultimately, when it came to it, I was okay with walking. I took that leap of faith and went on, and have never regretted it. They hired 3 people to replace me. They moved on, and I moved on. And what I see in Aaron Rodgers right now at this point in his life is that I see a guy at a similar juncture where he's good doing what he's doing, wouldn't have a problem staying where he's staying. But if it's not going to be exactly what he wants, he's also more than ready to go explore something else.
See, I think it's Green Bay that has the power here, guys. And I can understand where you guys are coming from. I think there's different levels of power when you think about it. I compare this situation to like a community of homes. And you think about it, right? You live in that community of homes. You have water. You have electricity. And you're able to use it at your leisure. But you got to pay for it, right? You got to pay for it. Aaron Rodgers has all of these utilities that he has access to. He has the power. His home is powered, all right? He has heat. He has AC. He can do all those different things. But if you disconnect from those who connect you to the power, they can turn the power off. See, there's 3 options here that exist for Aaron Rodgers, and there's 3 options here that exist for the Green Bay Packers. First one, retire. All right, now, if I fill in the first one with Aaron Rodgers or versus the Green Bay Packers, it sounds interesting, right? So if Aaron Rodgers retires, Aaron Rodgers has to pay back money. Not if Green Bay allows, or if Aaron Rodgers retires, Green Bay has to pay money to Aaron Rodgers. It's not the reverse. Aaron Rodgers still would have to pay money to be able to stop playing football. Second option, move on. Move on to a different team. Now, Aaron Rodgers doesn't dictate if he moves on to another team. You know who does? Let's see. Packers have to sign off on a trade. So Aaron Rodgers can't leave because he wants to leave. Aaron Rodgers can't dictate draft choices because he wants to dictate draft choices. That's no power. And the third one, of course, play for the Packers. Now, if I'm the Packers and I say play for Aaron Rodgers, then this next part is interesting. With playing for the Packers, your third option is swallow your pride and admit that you don't have the power, is basically, in essence, what you would have to do. And what we're staring at right now is a head coach that's disappointed that Aaron Rodgers is upset and doesn't want to be there anymore. You have a GM that's trying to do subterfuge with everything that's going on right now. And it's all geared towards trying to come to a solution for Aaron Rodgers. Greg, I say this. Aaron Rodgers is, in fact, not in power, nor does he have the power. And if he did, these conversations that we've been having about him for years would be very different.
Okay, so let me explain how this works.
Okay.
Yes, the Green Bay Packers have power, Rick, and this is why I say the Green Bay Packers have the power and Aaron Rodgers has leverage. Because if they so choose to pull the trigger and give him what he desires, that's in their hands to do.
That's power.
If they stand flat-footed and on the concrete sole that they are standing on in the footing,
that's power.
Then that's what they choose to do. And he has to live with that decision, period. They dictate everything. However, the desired outcome is where the leverage shifts to Aaron Rodgers. Because if they desire to win championships, and that is what the Green Bay Packers is all about, winning championships, Aaron Rodgers gives them the best chance to do that. The only chance to do that in this current state of where they abide with the personnel that they have on their current roster. If he chooses to retire, we're not talking about the Green Bay Packers as a competitive team this year. If he chooses to be traded and they agree, we're not talking about the Green Bay Packers as a competitive championship team unless they acquire talent that is going to supplement everything that they lose with Aaron Rodgers. And what team is truly willing to give up all of that? So that's why Aaron Rodgers has the leverage, because in order for them to accomplish any of their foreseeable goals, he has to be on that roster. And he knows that. And everybody as a talking head knows that. Every fan knows that. But then the Packers also know this is our decision. Either we're going to stick to it and we're going to move on, or we're going to just give in to what he wants and then still have our desired outcome in front of us.
Yeah, but who is making that decision, Greg? I would agree with you guys. In almost every instance when it comes to the NFL, the team always has the power. And quite honestly, they always have the leverage. Aaron Rodgers is that rare unicorn that has other options. And I do believe if he had to sit out, he would sit out and he would be okay with pushing that nuclear button. The problem that the Green Bay Packers have is their public ownership, which we've always thought was cute and we loved it. And, it's a nice thing to have. It makes the soul feel good that there is a team out there that is publicly owned. But it creates a problem here because it makes them essentially rudderless. There is no one person who can just unilaterally make the decision to solve this problem. They've got to do it by committee. And we know how difficult making decisions by committee, especially in a situation like this that is as personal as the Aaron Rodgers one is, to come to that conclusion. So in most every other instance, I would say you're right. But Aaron Rodgers has the unilateral ability to decide what he wants to do, and I'm going to do it or I'm not. The Green Bay Packers collectively don't have that ability just to say, oh, this is what you need as a contract. Okay, there's multiple people that have to sign off on that, and that complicates the situation. And we're now looking at a timeline that works against the Packers. And for all of that is why I believe this is one of the rare instances where the player in a situation actually has the leverage and the power.
See, okay, this is why we have to really understand power and leverage. The Green Bay Packers are going to continue to play football with or without Aaron Rodgers. So they have...
And Aaron Rodgers is going to continue to live a good life with or without the Green Bay Packers.
Understood, but he wants to play football, like LeVar was talking about and alluding to. He's in that organization, and in order for him to operate underneath that helmet, in that uniform, and continue to play the game that we all know that he loves and that he does enjoy playing, and I do believe he still wants to play football, just not under the current circumstances. If that were not the case,
wait. But Greg, that said, you don't think that Aaron Rodgers not wanting to play for the Green Bay Packers will concede and play for the Green Bay Packers? I mean, this is at the heart of what we're talking about. It really comes down to, does Aaron Rodgers have the guts to not play football for the Green Bay Packers in order to get his way? And I believe that he does.
I'm not saying that he doesn't have the guts. I believe he does. It's not about the guts. It's about what he wants, what he truly wants. And right now, from the football side of things, what he wants is things to be run differently by different upper management. And that is what he wants from the football perspective. We all know that Aaron Rodgers is going to be perfectly fine in his life outside of football and beyond football when he so chooses to make that move and that transition. But right now, he only has leverage. He doesn't have full power and authority, because if he did, he wouldn't be complaining about it. He would be making the decisions, and it would have already happened.
Well, the beauty of this is that Aaron Rodgers wins anyway. So do the Green Bay Packers, because, hey, we're all talking about it. And speaking of quarterbacks that we're talking about, QBs drafted for the Niners. Yeah, Trey Lance. But we'll tell you, do we think they were pressured into the pick? Next on Speak for Yourself. Kyle Shanahan said they were very high on the Trey Lance pick from day one, before picking him number 3 in the draft. But a former NFL GM, he doesn't agree, saying that the 49ers, quote, can say it was Trey all along.
No, I'm not hearing anybody.
That's a crock of crap. They traded up to get Mac Jones, and the outside pressure became really bad. Outside pressure, huh? Greg, are you buying the 49ers were pressured to draft Trey Lance? That's the question.
Absolutely not. No. And we all knew that they were going for a quarterback. Now, you move up to the number 3 overall pick. You know you're not in the runnings for Trevor Lawrence and possibly Zach Wilson, and that was the case. So you're looking at Justin Fields, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance. You now have to do your due diligence. You may have moved up for whoever. You may have moved up thinking, okay, we're going to get Mac Jones, and we're all in on this guy. But now that you're there, you owe it to more than just yourself, but to the guys on your roster, to your future, to make the proper observations and assessments. And so that's what they did. And when you look at Kyle Shanahan and his process and his offense, Trey Lance fits his offense better than Mac Jones. Now, I truly believe that Justin Fields would have been an even better pick, but with going with Trey Lance, he can improvise. He can play on the run. He has the size and the durability. And when you look at what they're currently experiencing with Jimmy Garoppolo, he has so many intangibles, but the one question mark is his durability, his health. And that's why you look at a guy like Trey Lance, who's a big 6'4", 225-pound guy, can move out of the pocket, can take a hit, can deliver every throw that Kyle Shanahan wants him to deliver. And you look at Mac Jones, he's a good quarterback, a really good quarterback. I think he fell into a really great situation. But he can't do all the things that Trey Lance can do. I'm sorry, Mac Jones is great, but the upside, it's hard to overlook and to allow that to just lie in rest of somebody else's hands and the potential when you are right there sitting and you got to watch him at his pro day. You got to see him again. You got to see Mac Jones up close in person. You got to see all these quarterbacks for what they were. Talk to them, get them up in front of the whiteboard, see how their brain works, see if they can repeat the verbiage and spew it in ways that would make sense to the guys in the huddle. And they felt most comfortable with Trey Lance. It blows my mind that somebody would sit here and say they were pressured into taking a guy. Who gets pressured into taking a guy unless you're getting bullied? That's just not going to happen in the NFL draft. You're going to take the best available guy that you feel fits your team, and that's what they did.
I love when they say they or others or a source. Like, come on. Own it. Who is outside sources? Please. Outside pressure. Where's this outside pressure? I say with a big, fat, juicy no, there is no outside pressure. But if you want, we could just humor ourselves right now, G. Jennings, is to say, you know what? This is actually this is a way of saying an owner, a decision maker, someone of influence within the 49ers organization said, I hope you're taking Trey Lance. You're taking Trey Lance, right? You said y'all were taking Trey Lance? We traded up to get Trey Lance. Is that what it was? That's what it was, huh? That's what it was? That's pressure. If you have somebody who can take your job away. We just talked about this the last segment with Aaron Rodgers. When you're dealing with somebody who has the ability to give your job or take your job, that's pressure. I bent under the pressure. We chose Trey Lance instead of Mac Jones because I would lose my job. No, let me tell you what this is, guys. This is what you call deflecting. You've already put into the ground. You're already throwing seeds into the ground. If this doesn't work, if for some reason Garoppolo gets in there, Garoppolo plays at a level where it's okay, but we want to see Trey Lance. Okay. You put in Trey Lance. Trey Lance doesn't play as well as Garoppolo. Well, how do you justify that? Especially if somebody that got drafted after him, if a Mac Jones is playing well, if a Justin Fields is playing well. To me, this is not a release from obscurity and anonymity to say, oh, well, you know what? We would have took Mac Jones. Oh, now that you saw New England take them and they were happy to stay where they stayed and let him fall into their lap. And all of the people say, oh, they weren't taking Mac Jones. Mac Jones wasn't good enough. Mac Jones wasn't the fit for number 3. He wasn't the fit to move up and take. All of these different prognosticators and experts saying what Mac Jones isn't, but yet he landed with New England. People are nervous. You took a small school guy. You took a chance. You took a flyer. Oh, he's the smartest quarterback in the draft. Great. Oh, he's the most talented. He's got a great arm, and he does this. He's a leader. Great. You never have a bad day. You always feel like you can win with Trey Lance. Great. But what you're doing is you're letting everybody know that all these things that you think are Trey Lance and the reason why you took him number 3 are things that you can get out of the way of later on and say, think back to when we first drafted him and that GM came out and said under anonymity that we were pressured into taking him. That's all this is, Rick Bucher, is what you do a lot of, which is the great qualification of why something happens. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, with all due respect to all of us on this show and shows like it or social media and those keyboard gangsters out there, this idea that somehow outside pressure convinced the 49ers that, people don't like us taking Mac Jones at number 3. And by the way, it was a matter of where they were taking him, not necessarily that they were taking him. So this idea that decisions are being made by public scrutiny, that we've gone back to the Christians and the Lions, yay, nay, is just it's not reality. Now, if Kyle Shanahan was pressured into doing something else, I buy that possibility, that Kyle Shanahan preferred a Mac Jones and ultimately John Lynch or Jed York or the scout said at number 3, that's not the right play. I also can't help but feel that this may be part of the whole Aaron Rodgers conversation. Because if I'm the Green Bay Packers and I do get to the point where I might have to make a move, I would far rather have a Trey Lance who is unpolished but has all of the tools that I need for him to be a dynamic player. I'm not going to say on the level of an Aaron Rodgers, but has tremendous upside as opposed to a safer pick with a lower ceiling in Mac Jones. That intrigues me. That's where I'd be willing to go if push comes to shove and I have to move Aaron Rodgers. So I can't help but feel, because of the 49ers' interest, I put it out there way back in February. They were interested in Aaron Rodgers. This isn't something that just suddenly turned. They've long had this on their schedule. And so can't help but feel taking Trey Lance gives them multiple options. Yeah, he's got the bigger upside. We already have a quarterback in place. But if we can make that Aaron Rodgers move, that's far more attractive to the Green Bay Packers than a Mac Jones would be.
You talk about it giving them more options, and that's what's intriguing for someone like myself as a former receiver when I look at the possibilities that Trey Lance provides. And Kyle Shanahan, in my opinion, he saw the same thing, as well as John Lynch. You look at what he was able to do with Robert Griffin III when he was with the Washington Redskins at the time, the Washington football team now, his rookie season, offensive rookie of the year. They go 10-6. They win the NFC East. Like the endless possibilities. We thought Robert Griffin III was going to be something to behold, and then off goes Kyle Shanahan, and no more this spectacular player. And so you look at what Trey Lance can provide. He can provide those things on the playing field. He can elude the tackle. Look at the tape of this young man. Everybody talks about him being smart, but he's a ball player. And at the end of the day, yes, you can be smart, you can be great, but you got to be instinctive. And that's what I see when I watch this young man play. He's an instinctive player who is going to go into the huddle with the play, but then he can flat out improvise. And when you look at Kyle Shanahan and what he likes to draw up schematically, he needs a guy that can kind of wing it when it breaks down and if it breaks down, because we all know it will.
I'll just say this very quickly. In the top 10 of the Pro Football Focus top 10 quarterbacks in the league, only 2 are from small schools. 2. That would be one Josh Allen, Wyoming, and Derek Carr from Fresno State, which those are kind of decent-sized schools in comparison to, North Dakota State. But that's just me talking, and we'll have to wait and see how that all works out. Coming up next, the Cowboys. Yep, they drafted a rookie I know very, very well, Micah Parsons, baby, Stick City. We'll tell you if Dallas moves that made them an NFC contender. Next on Speak for Yourself.
The Cowboys defense has had a major facelift this offseason. Dallas drafted 8 players on the defensive side, including linebacker Micah Parsons. They also signed 7 defensive players as free agents and hired Dan Quinn as their defensive coordinator. So, Greg, have to ask, have all these moves made the Dallas Cowboys legitimate NFC contenders?
They definitely have. When you look at the Dallas Cowboys, there are a couple things that we knew that they were. Offensively, we knew that they could score with anybody and outscore anybody. Defensively, we knew what they were. They were going to give up a ton of points. So what do? Not even getting to the personnel first, you address it right away by bringing in a new defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn. A position of where he thrived and he has experience at building a successful defense and getting it to perform at a high level. So I love that start. And then obviously what they were able to do this offseason and then in the draft with LeVar, your guy. So I believe you're not going to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. I know you hate that, but with your guy Parsons being there, I know you're going to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. But you got to think of these two guys, a head coach, and one was just a previous head coach, and Dan Quinn, Mike McCarthy, trying to get that lightning back in the bottle that he had in Green Bay. On the offensive side, he has it rolling. And then you look at defensively what they can potentially be. If this team can be anything close to what they were a couple years ago, this can be a definite contending team in the NFC. It's going to be a challenge. They're going to have to mesh. They got a lot of new pieces and a lot of new faces. But I believe this scheme that they're going to all be playing fits their personnel a lot better than what we saw on the field and on display last season.
Yeah, as much as I love my baby boy, Stick City, Micah Parsons, going to this Dallas team, which now I figure I have to cheer for Dallas in a much larger capacity. Sean Lee was on the team as well. He just retired. Shouts out to Sean Lee for a tremendous and brilliant career. But this is still the same Dallas team that we've been looking at until they show us something differently. They have the same amount of weapons on offense that they had last year, G and Rick. Like, I look at this team and I say, can you bring in a few young guys and in their first year as rookies, can they be a catalyst on a defense that really, really needs to step it up and be at a much higher level? I think that they can make this unit better. I think they can make them more respectable. But to put the weight of the success of this team on Dan Quinn and a young group that they're going to try to mesh together to play well on the defensive side of the ball, I don't necessarily subscribe to that just yet. I look at this offense and I say they are going to have to step up and be more of what they haven't been, all right, which is winners in big games. You have to slay the dragon if you want to be the person that's recognized as, the one. And that's what this offense has to transition and do. The offensive line is getting a little older. You're looking at guys like, can Zeke get it back at this point? Or is it going to have to be Pollard that really carries the load at that position? This is a team that needs to run the ball. When you have those positions at receiver, the skill positions, you have a ton of talent. Maybe Lamb steps into a bigger role as in his sophomore year. But I still look at Dallas as a team that has to show that they can get to that level of where they can be considered a contender in the NFC. I don't know that they're a tremendous contender in the NFC East. Why? Because I don't know what we're going to get out of the New York Giants this year. I really don't. I saw them improve. They were inconsistent, but I saw improvement, which means they could be a better team. We saw a Washington football team find itself at the end of this year and end up winning the division, and that could be foreshadowing of years to come in that division. They need to focus in on the NFC East first and grow that defense so that it can compete and contend. But this offense ultimately has to step up and show that they can win in the big games as well.
Did Skip come up with this segment? Because he's the only person, or maybe the first person I think of, who would actually immediately go to, "We're back, baby." Wait a minute. You're back to what? Can I have a full screen here? Can I remind you, Greg, I hate to ask you so many questions, but I asked you about leverage versus power. Now when you say, if they can get back to what they were a few years ago, what is few years? Are you talking about like 25, 30 years? I usually think of a few years being like 2, 3, maybe on the outside, 4 years. Last time they were meaningful was way back when, obviously, as this demonstrates. So no, to LeVar's point, I see them as being playoff contenders if their defense improves because of all the additions. And we see Dak Prescott, he can't live up to the contract, but can he get back to what we saw, some semblance of that? Ezekiel Elliott, can we get some semblance of that? We're just assuming the offense is going to resume what it's able to do with Dak Prescott. A lot of assumptions being made here in terms of where the Cowboys are going to go. And all I've seen for the last 25, 30 years is that all of the optimism has almost always ultimately been dashed. And I see them as improved. I see them as better. I don't see them rising to the top of the NFC.
Rick, that's all we do is assume. We assume that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be right back where they left off. We assume that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be.
I like that assumption.
Exactly. That's what we do. Not all assumptions are liked and loved or agreed upon. And this is one for me. When I talk about them getting back to what they were a couple years ago, it's strictly defensively. A couple of years ago, they were middle of the pack, top 11, 12 in overall defense, in total defense. If they can get back simply just to that, we're not asking them to be a top 10, top 5 defense. We're just asking them to be above average. And so I think that if they can get back to that, I am going to assume that you paid Dak Prescott a bunch of money to be successful, to be great, to be awesome. And he was doing that before he got injured last year. And so you add, like you said, LeVar, a CeeDee Lamb in his second year. You add all these other pieces around. I assume that they are going to be. I expect them to be good on offense. That's not the question. The question is, what are they going to look like defensively?
So you're saying if they're mediocre defensively and they're good offensively, that's going to get them to NFC title contention? I don't see that.
Because of how
the defense is going to have to be spectacular.
And how they can score the ball? Absolutely.
But their defense isn't going to be that bad. I'm just saying if they can
get there.
Well, their defense isn't going to be bad. And let's highlight my guy, Micah Parsons, real quickly, right? Let's take a look at him. Do you know that the Dallas Cowboys do not have one Hall of Fame linebacker? Not one thus far today, with the likes of Hollywood Henderson, Chuck Howley, who was a Super Bowl MVP, Leroy Jordan, if you know your Dallas history, guy that's favorite to me, Ken Norton Jr., Dexter Coakley, and Sean Lee. You had some great linebackers that have played for this team. But this Micah Parsons, he's a different breed of person. He's a different human being, different animal. He's all mammal is what he is. He goes down on all fours if need be. If it's a full moon out, you might catch him howling at it. I mean, he's just one of them type of dudes that he could actually go out and catch what he's going to eat with his teeth. That's how I feel about this guy. So that's what you're going to need to change the personality of this defense. You got Jalen Smith, super ridiculous athlete, can move around real well. You got some guys, DeMarcus Lawrence on the ends. They have a team that could actually, with an attitude adjustment and a belief and a nastiness about them, could actually shift and turn the tide of what they could possibly be. Micah Parsons is that type of catalyst player that could come in and change the entire complexity of what your defense is. And keep in mind, Dan Quinn was a part of that Legion of Boom group. It was a part of some really, really cool defenses that saw the likes of Bobby Wagner and all of those type of guys, KJ Wright. Just some really, really fine football players. I look at this being the type of situation where Dan Quinn with a Micah Parsons turns this into the catalyst of making this a better defense?
I love Micah Parsons, but he's literally going to have to be the werewolf in order for this Cowboys team to elevate itself to the point that you guys are talking about. I just don't see it.
Well, speaking of werewolves, Anthony Davis, he held it down on offense and defense last night. We'll tell you if we were impressed by the Lakers win.
Wolf?
I'm sure we know Rick Bucher was. Next on Speak for Yourself. Anthony Davis helped the shorthanded Lakers snap their 3-game losing streak last night against the Nuggets. AD scored 25 points and had a big block late in the game. After the win, AD could be seen saying, "We're back." Chris Broussard, he's with us now. But Rick, we're going to start with you. Impressed by the Lakers win over the Nuggets?
Mildly impressed. I'm not impressed by Anthony Davis saying we're back. I don't know how many games they're going to win scoring 93 points, okay? And Talen Horton-Tucker scoring on a putback over Nikola Jokic because he was just too lazy to go get the rebound, and Austin Rivers was too lazy to step back in bounds and actually defend a second time doesn't really convince me that the Lakers' championship form is back. Honestly, but I'm mildly impressed because they did do this without Dennis Schroeder. They did it without LeBron James, 2 of their top 3 players, and they had their backs against the wall. So they needed this win, and they went and got it. But this says more about the Denver Nuggets and their capacity to take a step back at the oddest times. They've lost twice to the Wizards this year, twice to the Golden State Warriors this year, and 3 times to the Sacramento Kings. That's what's a little befuddling for me when it comes to Nikola Jokic and him being an MVP and all that. So, but look, the Lakers got it done. They needed it. Let's just stop short of saying that they are back to championship form.
Well, look, I know LeVar is not impressed with anything outside of the Utah Jazz, but I'm going to say I was impressed a little more than mildly. You know what I was impressed by? The defense. All right, you say what you want about the Lakers, but they can defend. They're the best defensive team in the league statistically, and I think they're definitely a top 3 defensive team in the league overall. And they just went out there without LeBron and held a top 5 offense to 89 points. All right. And what that tells me is that is one of the 3 things that Western Conference opponents need to be concerned about. One is LeBron James and his health. We all know he has to be healthy for this Lakers team to have a shot at winning the championship. If you've got that, then the second thing is Anthony Davis, who not only hasn't been himself since he came back from injury, but really hasn't been himself all season long. Yesterday was a step in the right direction. He wasn't phenomenal, but he did hit the big shot at the end of the game. He did end up with 25 points and I think 3 blocks. So it was a step in the right direction. If he can become the AD of last year, which shouldn't be asking too much, that's the second thing for teams to worry about. And the third is, as I said, that defense. They get after it, and when you've got a defense like that and LeBron James and Anthony Davis and adequate shooting around them, you've got a shot to go deep in the playoffs.
Is Caruso the MVP of the league? Caruso, are you the MVP of the league? Because he was the guy, right? He was the only one that actually really supported your boy AD in the game last night. I liked it, but I was not impressed. Sorry, Mr. Broussard, even though you tried to downplay me liking the Utah Jazz. This isn't about the Utah Jazz. This is about your Lakers and how you like to qualify for your Lakers. And, Rick, here's the thing. Here's what I'm thinking, right? You're talking about a team that's split quarters with this Nuggets team, okay? Split quarters, meaning they won 2 quarters, the Nuggets won 2 quarters, and they just happened to win the game by a couple points, right? Like, 2 possessions by the end of it? Like, I don't look at this Lakers team and it says to me, oh, my gosh, they're back. Oh, my gosh, here we go. You know what? I look at the Lakers and I say to myself, this was a team Much like when you say, oh, you were a good parent. Oh, you were a good student. Oh, you did well in the game. Oh, it's your job to do well in the game. It's your job to be a good parent. It's your job to be a good student. They are in a very desperate situation right now. Wouldn't we all agree? We just heard LeBron complaining, boo-hooing. I don't like the fact that we got this play-in tournament. Whoever had that play-in tournament thing or that stuff, that they shouldn't even have a job. You know why he's nervous, fellas? Because they're going to mess around and be in it. Right now, they one game away from it. And by the math of it, if they slip and don't fall, wobble a little bit, they might wobble right into that buzzsaw up in Golden State that's messing around with everybody's emotions and feelings, shooting the ball from all over the place, and Steph Curry. I look at this, it's not impressive. It was a must-win for this Lakers team. Yes, I said must win, Rick Bucher. It's a must win. Yes, I said must win, Chris Broussard. It was a must win for the Lakers. So good you got it. I don't know about saying we're back, but you're certainly still in contention for not having to play in that playoff that you definitely don't want to be a part of.
LeVar, thank you for that tease on a future segment in this show right there. Much appreciated. Broussard, I noticed how you conveniently skated right around Anthony Davis, suggesting that this performance is a signal that they are back to championship form. Are you telling me that you agree with that statement, that them holding the Nuggets to 89 points? And let's be realistic. Were the Nuggets really held to 89 points, or did they hold themselves to 89 points? Because I don't know that this was a suffocating performance by the Los Angeles Lakers, as I saw a Nuggets team that simply was going through the motions, was turning the ball over, and was missing a lot of open shots. And the Lakers played with just enough energy in order to ultimately get it done. And by the way, the close was not impressive. We can take the highlights and make it look good, but they were comfortably ahead. And if there wasn't for the flop by Anthony Davis, maybe this game turns out different. A flop on a shot by Michael Porter Jr. that would have made it a one-point game. So with all that, I ask you, Broussard, are you really convinced, as Anthony Davis is, that the Lakers are back to championship form as a result of the way they played last night?
Look, the "we're back" statement, I think it's perfect to yell at a teammate on the court or in the locker room.
No, it's not.
I love it. The rah-rah, yeah,
not.
boy, we back.
No.
That's what I'm talking about. We back. I love
Chris.
all that.
The great qualifier.
If he had said that on the podium after the game, I didn't see it. I don't think he said it. If he had come on the podium and been questioned by the press and said, oh, we're back, then I would have had an issue with it, because they're clearly not back. You're not back until LeBron's back. You're not back until Anthony Davis is playing at the superstar level again. So I will give you that, Rick. But don't poo-poo the defense too much. I mean, they gave the young Michael Porter some problems. Jokic, it took him 28 shots to get his 32 points. This is a guy that shoots 57% from the floor. So I think their defense was very good, and it is always very good. And here's the other thing, guys. And look, I'll make my official Western Conference pick before the playoffs start. But I'm telling you, who's scaring a Lakers team that's got LeBron back at 90, 95% and AD playing well? We just saw Denver. Their second best player is Michael Porter Jr., who's 22 years old. He is playing lights-out basketball. But is he going to step into a playoff series against LeBron James and be lights out at 22? I don't think so. Is Phoenix scaring you? And LeVar, with all due respect to your Jazz, they ain't scaring nobody, all right? Donovan Mitchell is hurt. He's got to come back from the injury. The Clippers, Kawhi Leonard struggling through a foot problem. So the West, as good as the West always is, there is nobody that if I got LeBron at 90, 95% and AD as his Robin, there's nobody I'm scared of, especially when I lock people down defensively like I was a Michael Parsons of basketball.
Oh my God. I like where you went with it.
I would agree in most cases.
Argue that.
I like where you went with that.
Chris, in most cases, I would agree with you in terms of defense really being the hallmark of a team and whether it's going to win the championship or not. And certainly it is a reason to believe that the Lakers are still capable of doing that. But you have to have some semblance of offense. They are the reverse image of the Brooklyn Nets, where we have no doubts about their offense. We have some questions about their defense. With the Lakers right now, it's the reverse. We have concerns about their offense. And just because they beat the Denver Nuggets scoring 93 points doesn't convince me that they are going to be okay. And we saw them with LeBron back, and that offense still ultimately wasn't good enough. And here's the other issue here. One, Nuggets have struggled. Jokic has struggled with Montrezl Harrell and that Lakers defense before. So it's not as if the Nuggets are an indicator of where the Lakers are. This is just more of the same. And so when I look at where they are, the Lakers still have this difficult situation where Dennis Schroeder is out, LeBron James is in and out, and they are facing the prospect of having a play-in game to win in order just to get into the regular playoffs. So they needed this game desperately.
3 games
far more than the Nuggets needed this game. To suggest that now this is an indication that they are the team to beat, I just can't go that far. And because of the circumstances, I just can't put that much on it. I need to see a couple more like this in order to believe that the Lakers are anywhere close to what they need to be in order to repeat as champions.
That's legitimate. And they need LeBron as LeBron. He can't come back 80% like he apparently did in these last 2 games. I'll go back to last year. When he came back, he thought he was ready, right? I'm activating playoff LeBron. And they went 8-13 after he came back from the groin injury 2 years ago. So if he doesn't come back near the top of his game, I'll give you that, and they will have trouble offensively. But if he comes back at 90-95%, which might be a big if, then do you still have the same concerns about their offense? And that's the thing. I don't. LeBron James playing like he was before the injury, I don't have those same concerns about the offense. I'm not saying they're Brooklyn, but their offense will be more than adequate. LeBron's going to be able to get his points. AD's going to be able to get his points, and I think they'll get enough shooting, as they did last year, that to go along with that stellar defense where they can still be dangerous.
The number one question that I have about their offense, and this is what I have about the league as a whole going into the postseason, is that the three-point shot has become as prevalent and as important as it's ever been in the league. We're seeing it taken far more often, and your percentage has a huge influence on whether you win or not. I don't know if the Lakers shoot the three-point shot well enough in order to win a championship. And I believe that that is a factor now in a way that it's never been before. It's certainly been the case in the regular season. My question is, does it translate to the postseason? And are we in a new era where for you to win a championship, you have to be able to play defense and you have to be able to shoot the three?
Anthony Davis played as a superstar last night. Won't hate on that. But to say we're back, that's a stretch, Broussard. And you basically said addition by subtraction for the Western Conference, which I find to be interesting. Injury, injury, injury. Therefore, the Lakers are good. I don't know, Chris Broussard. It sounded like that's what you said. If that's what it is, then the West might be in trouble. But this man, he's been putting people in trouble. Steph Curry, he went off again. We'll tell you if he's the best offensive player in the NBA right now. Next on Speak for Yourself. Sunday on FS1, the stars of NASCAR go old school with the throwback race from Darlington. Catch some of the most iconic rides as they hit the track or the Goodyear 400. It all starts Sunday at 3:30 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. My man, Steph Curry, yeah, he's at it again. He hit 8 3-pointers, finishing with 41 in the Warriors win over the Pelicans. Steph has now scored 40 or more points 9 times this season. His teammates, well, they're even in all of them. Take a listen.
Anytime you step on the floor with Steph Curry, there's an advantage there. Teams are terrified of him, and everywhere he runs on the floor, with or without the ball, teams are terrified. I wouldn't want to see a team with Steph Curry on there. We all know what he's capable of. Guy can take over a game and make it hard for any team in the NBA.
If you get into a street fight and you got Mike Tyson standing on the side of you, how you gonna feel? So, I mean, that's the best analogy I can give you. Like, he different, man.
So, Chris, is Iron Steph Curry the best offensive player in the NBA right now?
Look, I don't disagree with what his teammates just said, and I love Steph Curry. Rick Bucher might disagree with me, but I believe I may have been the first person on national TV back in 2015 to say he was the greatest shooter in NBA history, all right? So I'm all here for Steph. However,
yeah, I
am not going to call him.
Go ahead.
No, I just saw. I was a prophet, all right? But anyway, I'm not going to buy into this. I got 2 guys that I would put ahead of him offensively. Interestingly enough, they both reside in Brooklyn.
Washington.
Number 1, James Harden. James Harden has already shown he can score as much as Steph. He averaged 36 points, not for a month like Steph, but for an entire season. Then he also averaged 34 points a game. He's not the shooter Steph is, I'll give you that. But he is a very good three-point shooter and outside shooter. And here's the kicker. James Harden can facilitate and run an offense better than Steph Curry. What they need in Brooklyn, whatever they need, he gives them. KD and Kyrie are healthy. Okay, I'm going to facilitate, take 16 shots, and get a triple-double. KD and Kyrie are out. Okay, I'll go for 40-plus and lead us to the victory. This dude is elite as a scorer and elite as a playmaker, so I got him. The second guy, of course, Kevin Durant, largely because he's 7 feet tall, but still, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's problem right now is he don't shoot enough threes. This guy's averaging 28 points on 55% shooting and 48% from 3, but he is such a mid-range assassin that he doesn't take enough from behind the arc. He's only averaging 5.5 three-point attempts this season. He hit 7 on Sunday, which is great, but for a guy that shoots that well, it was his season high. It matched his career high. If Kevin Durant started taking more threes, like 8 or 9 a game, you would see his scoring average go up even more. So I got those two. As much as I love Steph, I'm taking Harden and Durant as better offensive players right now than him.
All excellent points, Broussard. I would love to throw any number of superlatives Steph Curry's way, but best offensive player, and I think it's important, the phrasing there, best offensive player, I can't give him. And James Harden, obviously, to me, is one example. We could go back and forth on Kevin Durant because the playmaking is not quite at the same level. I would put Luka Doncic as overall an offensive player in what he's able to do ahead of Steph Curry. If you want to say Steph Curry is the most electric player in the game, the most entertaining, the best three-point shooter, heck, I might even go scorer, then I'm with you. I'm good there. But offensive player, as Draymond suggested, like, teams are terrified when he has the ball, but they're terrified of him shooting the ball. The fright when the ball is leaving his hands and going to somebody else, it diminishes there. And some of that is because of the talent around him, but some of it is because he's not necessarily creating super easy shots for his teammates. When Steph, and this is inside basketball here, but when Steph has to get deep into his bag because he's 6'3", 185 pounds, and has to really work in order to get a free shot or an easy pass, That makes things, believe it or not, a little more difficult on his teammates because they don't know where it's coming from or when it's coming from. The advantage that Harden, KD, and Doncic all have is that their size allows them to play in areas of the court that makes things more easily defined for everybody else. It's not Steph's fault. It's just a matter of the dynamics of being 6'3" and 185. He has to do an incredible amount to get what he gets. The reason he shoots from 40 feet, the reason KD doesn't shoot from 40 feet, is because KD doesn't have to. KD can go mid-range. KD can toe the three-point line and still get his shot. Some of what Steph does is by necessity. He does it amazingly well, does it better than anybody else. But as an overall offensive weapon, and I dare say any coach or GM would say the same thing. If you give me one of those other guys, I'm going to start there as the catalyst to my entire offense.
I almost fell asleep on y'all's takes. I apologize. I thought that they were very passionately laden and delivered. It was a wonderful deal.
But I've got a big butt coming.
Shouts out to Marvel. I mean, the Avengers Challenge, I watched it. I was looking at the points and how they were keeping them. And Draymond won, you know. They should, hey, Marvel, if you're paying attention to the show today, you should add 2 more characters to your list of superheroes or supervillains. I don't know. Just choose one. You should add the Great Deflector and the Great Qualifier. And they could be like the twins. Like, they could be twins, but one is Rick and one is Chris. And they have, like, big letters on their shirts. Anyways, I digress. No, this is not correct what you guys are doing right now. To minimize the greatness of Steph Curry. He is the best offensive player in the NBA right now. Your argument, Chris Broussard, it could hold up if they were doing the things you're talking about right now. The question says, and I read, is Steph Curry the best offensive player in the NBA? What are the last 2 words? Right now. That's right now. That is not KD right now. That is not Joker right now. That is not James Harden right now. You know who the best, the scariest, most prolific scorer is right now? Offensive player right now? It's Steph Curry. And if I were to
you have to change up there. You have to change up there.
And if I were to
with you.
Hold on. And if I were to give you a 1A.
Offensive player.
If I were to give you a 1A on total offensive player, it wouldn't be the guys you just gave. It would be the guy in Washington, which I thought you guys would do your homework and at least come with Russell Westbrook as a discussion point for a hottest offensive player in the NBA right now. Look at what he's doing with these triple doubles. He's dishing them out like it's going out of style. I think he's like 2 or 3 games away from the record in a season, which is held by Michael Jordan, and there's only one in between him. Forget the name right off the top of my head, but there's only 3 of them right now at the number of 15, 14, 12, 11, something to that effect. So it would be Russell Westbrook as a 1A. But Steph Curry, the things that he's doing over the last 18-game stretch and the way he's pulling his team and dragging his team to this playoff play-in situation, that could end up being the reason why I said LeBron was poo-pooing on the whole situation of playoffs. What is this playoff thing? Well, you don't want to deal with the most prolific scorer and offensive player in the NBA right now in Steph Curry. He's Iron Steph Curry, not Iron Mike. He's Iron Steph Curry. That's what it is. I'm sticking with that.
LeVar.
I'm sticking with that.
Right now is a few seasons. It's a season. Right now is not this month, this week. 8:42 p.m. Pacific time last night. That's not what right now is, okay?
You are
right
qualifying
now,
right now.
Go ahead. Is in the NBA at this point in time.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Last night was Steph the best player.
To come help you out.
By your definition, okay, let me praise T.J. Warren, because last year in the bubble, Right now, at one point in time, he was the best offensive player in the league. I mean, come on. You know, you had nothing to say about my take and Rick's take, so you went off on Marvel for a while. Then you went off on semantics. You know as well as we do that you would take James Harden,
Chris,
KD. I'm not going Doncic, but I see the argument. You would take those guys. Here's the clincher.
Go ahead. You clinch it. Go ahead.
Here's the clincher, though, LeVar.
Okay.
And I'm not killing Steph. I'm not pulling Steph down in the historical rankings because of this season. But they are the 8th seed. James Harden showed he would carry a team that didn't have much talent to more wins. Kevin Durant, same thing. So that's something that you got to look at as well.
So has Steph Curry. And you're, again, qualifying by using hip-hop references and terminology and putting out what my battle point is going to be before I get to the mic and go down my road. I get it, Rabbit, all right? I understand that. But the reality that exists here on this stage, we could say last year, the year before, Steph Curry has been the most prolific scorer for quite some time now. People want to, argue that KD was when he was in Golden State. Great. But to me, I look at Steph Curry. He's been here long enough to not diminish what he's been doing in order to look at what he's doing right now in current times, right now, today, and say that he is the guy. I don't know. If you want to argue that, that's fine. But tomato, I think when you say best NBA offensive player right now, that says in this time period right now, not this season.
Yeah.
I don't look at it as this season, Chris Qualifier Broussard.
LeVar, let's go right now. Let's go last 24 hours. I'm good there.
Okay.
In fact, let's go back to your Marvel
You got
suggestion.
a good move here. Come on, go ahead. I'm waiting.
Who did you say had the most hero points?
Draymond. Draymond won.
Who was that?
Draymond won the Avengers battle last night.
Well, wait a minute. You mean the best offensive player in your mind?
But you just said
Marvel points?
Steph Curry doesn't create opportunities for his teammates. He wasn't the superhero? Isn't that what you just said, the great deflector, is that Steph Curry is not a facilitator for other guys and makes it difficult for other guys? Well, look at here.
That's right.
Draymond Green wins the Avengers Challenge. You know why? Because Steph Curry opens up opportunities for everybody else out there on the court. And because you have to take advantage, and Draymond did last night.
No. Look, Steph creates space, no doubt about it. But in terms of being the facilitator for that team, and the reason that they won last night is that Draymond got back to his triple-double self and his ability to be the playmaker that they need. And that's what he's been. Look,
all by himself.
Steph Curry right now has been a better offensive player than he is this season. I think a lot of people are under this, this misconception that Steph Curry is playing the best basketball that he's ever played, the best offensive basketball that he's ever played. That is wrong. He is shooting the three-point shot better than he ever has, and from ranges more consistently that we've ever seen. But his assist-turnover ratio is the worst of his career. And his overall playmaking is subpar for what he's been capable of. He's had higher offensive ratings 5 times in his career compared to this season. So he's doing one thing extraordinarily well, and he's doing it in a season where that particular thing, three-point shooting, is being emphasized more than it ever has been. But ultimately, if he was the offensive player of the league, the best offensive player in the league, then I don't care who he's playing with. I would expect his team to be better than one game over 500. And that's where they find them.
A master said once, 600 kicks of one kick will make you a master. But 600 different kicks one time will make you a jack of all trades. Coming up is Justin Fields, the rookie QB that's most ready to play right now.
I did not.
We'll answer that question next on Speak For Yourself. That might have flew over your head, Broussard. 5 quarterbacks were taken in the first 15 picks of the NFL draft. Trey Lance wound up going to the 49ers. And according to Adam Schefter, they felt Lance was more ready to play than Mac Jones. Joy Taylor, she's joining us now. Joy, which rookie QB is the most ready to play right now?
Thanks for having me back, guys.
Hey.
Trevor Lawrence is the most ready to play right now, and it's not close. He lost 2 games in his entire college football career. 3-2 in college football playoff games. National title his freshman year, beating Bama. We all know his resume: 99 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Consensus #1 overall pick, prodigy, 36 starts in college. There's a big gap between Trevor Lawrence and the rest of the field. Now, that's not to say that the rest of these guys aren't very talented and have a lot of potential, but if we're talking about walking into the NFL right now with expectations, with the ability to meet those expectations, with the experience, with the coaching, with the pedigree of competition that he's played at the highest level for these past 3 years, it's Trevor Lawrence, and it's not close. My order of ready to play, because I know LeVar doesn't like qualifiers, so I'm going to answer the question.
Nice.
Ready to play, Trevor Lawrence 1, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, and then Trey Lance. Now, that's not my order of talents and not necessarily my order of how I would have selected them or who I think is going to be successful in the league. But if we're talking about ready to play right now, Trevor Lawrence is 1, and then the field begins next with Justin Fields.
That's a very, very difficult answer to debate. While I'll agree with that Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys, I will also say that I believe Justin Fields is the most prepared to play at the national football level. And listen, it's kind of maybe I'm the qualifier on this particular question and answer, because I do believe that there are several other quarterbacks in my assumption and estimation that will be prepared and ready to go, and Trevor Lawrence is one of those. But here's why I look at Justin Fields and believe that Justin Fields is the guy for the job. He seems to show me a level of leadership and command that I have not really seen from any of the other quarterbacks. It's been kind of quiet for Trevor Lawrence. We haven't seen anything other than the quotes of him not having a chip on his shoulder. I like the cool, calm, collected approach that Trevor has had. It's very, very calculated in movement. But I look at this, if I was comparing the two, it's like that Rocky movie with Clubber Lang and Rocky, right? And it's like you've had so much success that it's like you look good, everything feels good, and it's camera made. And that's Trevor Lawrence. He's in the nice gym. He's doing this, he's doing that. But then you got Justin Fields over here. He's Clubber Lang. He's hungry. He does have that chip on his shoulder. He's in the garage. He's in the basement. His stuff has duct tape on it. It ain't clean. He's ready to go. And I look at Trevor Lawrence, and I'm like, well, I think he'll do well, but can Urban Meyer do it? Can the Jacksonville Jaguars do it? And while I look at this Chicago Bears team and not too much higher on them, I still think that there's something about Justin Fields feeling slighted, being good, being great, and saying, I am the best quarterback in this draft. I just look at his body of work and say he's the most NFL prepared today out of all my guys, out of all the guys I looked at.
The reason that you're not going with Trevor Lawrence is because he's too perfect and everybody knows
there are a lot
that
of
he
question
has all
marks
the
around
tools
it.
to be an NFL quarterback.
There's question marks.
I'm not really clear on why Justin Fields. Look, could Justin Fields be an NFL-ready quarterback? Yes, he could be. He could respond to the questions and the doubts, and that he seems to have been undervalued. I get that. But Trevor Lawrence was the #1 pick, and there was no doubt from the minute that Jacksonville got the #1 pick who they were going to get. And I dare say who anybody else, had they got the #1 pick, who they would have taken is Trevor Lawrence. We're trying to make this an argument that doesn't exist. If we want to go to who else might be an NFL-ready quarterback, now we've got a little bit of something to grind, because there is the question of Justin Fields. Is he more NFL-ready than Zach Wilson? Mac Jones, and considering where he went and what's the level of success going to be being with the Patriots, those are all fair questions. But I look at Trevor Lawrence and what he has, and there's not a single thing that he doesn't have that won't translate. He reminds me of actually a slightly better version of Joe Burrow in terms of being able to read and react, have all the physical tools, be able to do every single thing and having demonstrated. And I think that the one question with Justin Fields is, one, had a tremendous amount of talent around him. Is he going to have that same cushion that he had at the collegiate level? Is he going to have that with the Bears? And how is he going to perform? We saw Trevor Lawrence perform with a not very good offensive line and still throw for nearly 400 yards. That, to me, suggests that he's ready to succeed no matter what situation he's put in the NFL. And the other guys, they're a maybe. They're a might. He's one and the only guy that I look at and say he's a definite.
Wow. Well, if we're talking about what situations they're going to, that's a completely different conversation. Because while I would agree, Trevor Lawrence is pretty much close to perfect. And I loved Joe Burrow last year, and I agree he is a little bit better than Joe Burrow coming into the league right now. But it's fair to question what's going to happen in Jacksonville. I mean, I have a lot of faith in Urban Meyer, but they haven't been a traditional powerhouse organization. He still has to build a culture there. So if we're talking about who's going to succeed depending on where they're going, that's a different conversation altogether, because I think Trey Lance went to the best situation right now, followed by Mac Jones, then maybe Justin Fields, because we have some sort of idea what's going on with Chicago, then Trevor Lawrence, and then Zach Wilson. So the numbers completely change up if we're talking about how successful they're going to be based off of their skill level and where they ended up. But I agree with you. I think the conversation starts after Trevor Lawrence. He has such a resume. He has so much experience. It's so hard to pick apart his game. You're really just trying to at this point. And the chip on the shoulder thing doesn't matter to me. I'm encouraging healthy mental states for these young guys. You don't have to come in with a burning rage. And why should he? He's a prodigy, and he worked hard for it. It's not like he was anointed this. He is great. He has a great support system. He ended up in a great situation, and now he's with Urban Meyer. Sometimes things just fall in place, and he's worked hard for it as well. So he doesn't need to have a chip on the shoulder necessarily to be successful.
So to be clear, Joy, what I'm saying is if you took these 4 or 5 guys and you drop them into any situation, there's one guy that I am convinced would succeed and be capable of playing and make it work, and that's Trevor Lawrence.
I agree.
The other guys might. The other guys are somewhat dependent on what is around them. My belief is that whether it's Jacksonville or someplace else, Trevor Lawrence would outperform the other guys simply because he has and demonstrated that he has every single thing that you need to be able to succeed at the NFL level. And I just can't say that with the same certainty of the other guys that I can with Trevor.
Wow, that is so amazing to me. So if we dropped Trevor Lawrence into any situation, into the National Football League, you think he would succeed? And Joy, you co-signed that, and your brother played in the National Football League.
He's in Jacksonville. That is pretty much any situation. They are terrible. That's where he ended up going. That's why they had the #1 overall pick.
Joy, there's not one player outside of maybe Barry Sanders that would thrive in every single drafted situation that they would go in. I don't think I can think of anybody else. When I look at this situation and I'm listening to you guys discuss this, it hurts me. It hurts my heart. It hurts my feelings to think that, first off, we're turning chip on the shoulder into a negative connotation. It doesn't have to be negative. You can have a chip on your shoulder and not be enraged. You don't have to feel like I got to rip people's heads off because I got a chip on my shoulder. It could just be a healthy chip on your shoulder of proving that I can. And it could be as simple as that. That's first and foremost. But then I look at everybody is sitting there talking about Trevor Lawrence this, Trevor Lawrence that. And while I'll agree, I still find it interesting that when looking at Trevor Lawrence and what he will face, it will be vastly different than what a guy like Justin Fields is going to face. I don't look at Zach Wilson going to New York, having ready-made opportunities. It's not going to happen with the Jets. I don't see Trey Lance even beating Garoppolo out to get the opportunity to prove that he's going to be the guy. So there goes that one. All right, and then now we go back to Justin Fields. Justin Fields is in the NFC North. All right. Now let's think about this. Outside of Green Bay, who's sitting here trying to figure out what's going to happen with their catalyst of winning, let's just say for 2 seconds, Aaron Rodgers really is done playing in Green Bay. What does that look like? Let's see. The Bears went 8-8. That's the next best team in that division. And the Vikes went 7-9. Garbage. Okay. The Lions 5-11. Garbage. But then you look at this other side of it where the Jacksonville Jaguars are. Oh, yeah, they're playing against the Colts, a Super Bowl contender. Oh, they're playing against the Tennessee Titans, a Super Bowl contender. Let me see how Urban and Mr. Trevor Lawrence, Mr. Perfect, all everything, is going to do against those teams when they come to town and he goes to visit them. It just doesn't seem right to put that type of pressure on this young man, chip on the shoulder or not. I think Justin Fields comes in. He has to come in, and he has to be what the Bears need him to be, and I think he will be, more than any of the other quarterbacks that have been selected in this year's draft.
All right, so hold on. Now we've taken it from NFL-ready quarterback to winning NFL quarterback. And those two aren't necessarily the same.
What?
Did Joe Burrow win in Cincinnati? No, they didn't win in Cincinnati, but he demonstrated that he was capable of winning and that he could do everything that you needed an NFL quarterback to do. And trust me, as a long-suffering Cincinnati Bengals fan, I know what he walked into, okay? I know what the culture is there. If you don't like Jacksonville, Cincinnati and what they've been is right next door. And yet, Joe Burrow demonstrated without a shadow of a doubt that he is a franchise quarterback. And that's why I expect the same from Trevor Lawrence. LeVar, you didn't push back on the idea that Trevor Lawrence is a better version, a slightly better version of Joe Burrow. I assume that's because you agree with that perspective. And if you do, and you saw what Joe Burrow did last year, you have no choice but to change your mind and come on over to the winning side with Joy and me and agree that Justin Fields could be a nice story. Trevor Lawrence is the truth.
I don't want to turn this into I don't like Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields was a victim of the guy that gets picked apart.
Joy, you picked your side.
No, I'm not picking a side. I did not pick a side.
Where are you going?
I think Trevor Lawrence is a step ahead of all these guys, but I think Justin Fields is going to be great. I think he was the number 2 quarterback. If I had the Jets pick, I would have taken Justin Fields over Zach Wilson, and I don't know how Zach Wilson jumped Justin Fields. So I'm not saying that Justin Fields is not going to be successful. Again, the question wasn't who's going to be successful based off of where they're going, because my list completely changes around. I'm not going to pick apart Trevor Lawrence. I think that the situation in Jacksonville is going to be better than it ever has before. I think Urban's going to build a culture there, and it starts with the most NFL-ready quarterback in this draft, who's number 1 overall pick in Trevor Lawrence. And also, personally, I talk about chips on the shoulder.
Easy peasy.
My chip on the shoulder is a little bit violent. So
Justin Herbert.
A little aggressive.
That's funny. Justin Herbert. I'm scared of you, Joy. Justin Herbert, just for the record, got MVP, rookie MVP of the year this past year. Not Joe Burrow, Mr. Slightly better than Joe Burrow. Coming up.
Burrow was hurt most of the year. Tom Brady's move to Tampa did more than help the Bucs win a Super Bowl trophy. The Bucs went from the bottom of the NFL's merchandise sales list in 2019 to number 1 in 2020. The GOAT's number 12 accounted for half of the team's revenue. So, Joy, I have to ask you, is this proof that Tom Brady is still the face of the NFL?
TB12, the brand is strong. Yes, he's the face of the NFL. It's just the way it goes. Listen, I suffered under Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots for 2 decades as a Dolphins fan and being from Pittsburgh. So it always pains me to say it, but I leaned in after the comeback against Atlanta. He's the GOAT, and you just can't argue with it anymore. If you're arguing with it at this point, you're just being a hater, and that's not how I choose to live my life. Won 7 Super Bowls, Super Bowl MVP at age 43, transforming the Tampa Bay Buccaneers into a winning organization, brings everyone back, continues to take pay cuts. Now he's wonderful on social media. He's opened up. We're getting to see a new side of Tom. He's kind of funny. Look, I get it. He was at the Death Star for 2 decades. May the Force be with you. Happy Star Wars Day, by the way. And he has a lot of his polarization to him. Like, you either love Tom Brady or you hate him. But I think at this point, we can all just appreciate the greatness that he is. And there's a reason why these sales are happening. There's a reason why the brand is growing, because we're really watching the greatest to ever do it. And he just left Bill Belichick and the Patriots and went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl at age 43 and won a Super Bowl MVP. That's remarkable, and people are appreciating it.
Yes. No, he is not still the face of the NFL. Yes, he is the face of the NFL, but he's not still the face of the NFL. Patrick Mahomes succeeded him last year, winning the Super Bowl, leading in merchandise sales, all of the measurables that you could possibly have, Patrick Mahomes had. What Tom Brady did is the great comeback, going to Tampa Bay, resuming as the #1 merchandise seller, winning the Super Bowl, having a party on a boat. When I close my eyes and I think of the NFL right now, I think of Tom Brady walking off of that boat or tossing the Super Bowl trophy to another boat. That is the face. But he had to win it back from Patrick Mahomes in order to do that.
All right, listen, just very quickly, I think Tom Brady is the logo. He's not the face anymore, but he has transcended being the face. He doesn't have to be the face. Pat Mahomes can have it. Lamar Jackson can have it. Any of them can have it. Somebody could get it. Tom Brady, he is the logo. He's like Jerry West, the basketball dribbling in the NBA. So it doesn't even matter because Tom Brady is beyond anything petty in the National Football League. Coming up next, Chad Johnson. He's going into that boxing arena. We'll tell you if we want to see him on the Floyd Mayweather undercard next on Speak for Yourself.
Former wide receiver Chad Johnson is jumping in the boxing ring. He's scheduled to be part of the undercard for Floyd Mayweather-Logan Paul, the exhibition fight in June. Johnson's opponent is still TBD. So, LeVar, do you want to see Chad Johnson box on the Mayweather undercard?
Of course I want to see this boxing undercard matchup, whoever it is, because, quite frankly, I've seen what NBA players are going to do. I want to see what an NFL guy does because, quite frankly, I think we're tougher. Yeah, Rick, take that.
No, for the same reason that I don't watch cats playing piano videos. I don't need to see this. My life will be complete if I never see Chad Johnson in boxing gloves.
I love it. It's entertainment. Everything doesn't have to be all serious.
That's right.
Sweet Feet Johnson. Look, there's a lot of people watching these fights. Now,
Sweet Feet Johnson.
Snoop did say you can't play with boxing. Don't play boxing. So I hope that they're all taking it very serious because that's the important part. Don't want to end up in the meme Hall of Fame, although I love cats and pianos. That's it for us. Fox Bet Live is next.